I remember sitting in my office when my husband called me and said, "Can you get to a television? You won't believe what just happened." I could hear the shock and disbelief that was in his voice. As with many of us, I will never forget where I was and how I felt when I first learned the news that a plane had just 15 minutes earlier crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Shortly after that, numerous people, my husband included, witnessed the second plane crashing into the South Tower. It was a day that changed the world. It changed the lives of Americans, our allies. As we reflect and we remember those who died on that fateful day, we must go on, working daily together, making this world a better place. Find ways to make it safer, kinder, and reach out to those who go out of their way to make a difference. Tonight you will hear stories of two separate experiences. The circumstances are different, but the effort, the kindness, the selflessness, and the absolute acts of heroism are the same. There is no one image of a hero. It could be any one of us standing here tonight. For several years now, we have listened to Jessica Goff, our Vice President and Chairperson for the Shipwreck and Lifesaving Museum. And she has shared stories of bravery and compassion of people who worked quickly and efficiently under stressful times. Well, as I just said, heroes are among us, and I must take this time to recognize our very own Jessica. This summer, Jessica acted under these very same circumstances and conditions. She saved a life when her lunch partner began choking on her food. By the accounts that I was given, Jessica was the one who jumped into action and without hesitation performed the Heimlich maneuver. Our friend gushes praise on Jessica for changing the course of her day and perhaps her life. Thank you, Jessica. Just a small tidbit. When I was in the restaurant industry and I was training on the Heimlich maneuver, I learned a very interesting fact, and I'm not sure if it's the same today, but the highest rate of deaths from choking are with women. And the reason why it's higher than men is because the women are found in the bathroom. Women tend to, when they start choking and they're in a public place, will remove themselves from the situation and lock themselves in the bathroom. Men tend to be able to stay with people around them. So let that be a reminder. I'm always looking for an educational moment. It is my pleasure to welcome you here this evening. We have several of our first responders here tonight, and I would at this time like to invite them to join me here at the podium. We have Fire Chief Stephen Murphy, Master Chief of the United States Coast Guard Station Brant Point, Chris Switek, and CEO and President of Nantucket Cottage Hospital, Dr. Margot Hartman. Would you please come up and join me? And I would also please like to invite all of those who are currently employed or retired from representing departments of our first responders, including our Coast Guard, volunteer firefighters, lifeguards. Please, everybody, come just up here to join me for a moment. See what good hands we're in tonight? To our guests up front with me, thank you for your willingness to start out each day not knowing what the day will bring. You represent our first responders here on Nantucket. Thank you to your crew, to the men and women on your team who have chosen a profession that demands that they give selflessly, giving of themselves to provide safety to others each and every day. On behalf of Egan Maritime Institute and Nantucket Cottage Hospital, I thank you all. You are our heroes. As always, there are many things that go through my mind when I reflect on this day. For certain, none of us know what the future has in store. Tonight, I remind you all to hold your loved ones close. Tell them that you love them. Tell them that you are proud of them. And make sure when you leave, you always say your goodbyes. Live each day to its fullest. Please join me for a moment in silence while we remember those who worked so bravely to rescue those in need, and for the many innocent lives lost that fateful day, and may we always keep their souls and memories in our hearts. Thank you. Thank you. We go back to your seats. It is now my pleasure to introduce our partner for this evening, Dr. Margot Hartman.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here today. I realize every year there's no place else I'd rather be on 9/11 than right here. There's something about this beautiful museum under the auspices and nurturing of the Egan Maritime Institute, Pauline and her team, that just feels right to be here with all of you. And it's become very meaningful for me personally and for the hospital to participate in this. And we are once again so pleased to partner with the Egan Maritime Institute and present this special event that recognizes individuals in our community for their extraordinary efforts to save lives. And this museum that commemorates life-saving and a historic thread of people who respond. That in itself is the most remarkable thing to remember. And in some ways, it's a definition of being alive, the ability to respond. And that's what we can all aspire to and celebrate. I think it's also fitting that we recognize these members of our community on September 11th, this day when our nation remembers and honors those who we lost 17 years ago, as well as the first responders who bravely risked their lives to save others. So today I hope you'll join me in celebrating these 4 individuals from our community for their incredible life-saving response. And now I'd like to introduce Jessica Guff, the chair of the Nantucket Shipwreck and Lifesaving Museum Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Well, hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. You know, I always think about this day because I was in New York and I called my office and I said, I'm not coming into work today. I have to get my kids. Okay, do you want me to take it out? Okay, speak into the mic. Okay, so anyway, I walked up to the Bronx where my kids were in school and brought them back to the city with the buildings smoldering in front of us as we rode the subway home. It was a very, very sad, scary time. But it's so much nicer to be standing here on Nantucket in this beautiful setting. So welcome everyone. And this is my favorite event at our little museum, the museum that could. We could all use some good news, particularly on this day. And this evening we have the privilege of honoring 4 bona fide heroes. First off, pilot and small plane owner, Jeff Turner, who got a call from a close friend of 30 years after returning home from dinner with his wife. The caller, Tate Keegan, said his brother-in-law, Mike Fleischert, needed to get to Mass General Hospital in Boston by 2 a.m. Otherwise, the 2 organs he so desperately needed and had waited so long for would go to a different recipient. Jeff immediately agreed to fly Mike to Boston without payment, and after hanging up with Tate, he called Doug Lindley, waking him from a sound sleep to ask if Doug would serve as his co-pilot on the late-night flight. A nor'easter was blowing in and conditions would be challenging, but Doug immediately said, "I'm in." And the three men met at Nantucket's Memorial Airport around 11 p.m. Jeff and Doug had Mike to Logan by 11:30, and Jeff called an Uber to take Mike to MGH. He made it there well before the cutoff time, thanks to Jeff and Doug's heroic efforts. And we're so happy that Mike is here with us this evening. We're very sad that his wife, Jordana, couldn't join us, but she wrote a lovely letter that I would like to read to you now. Sorry, I have a chihuahua pulling at me. Anyway, hello everyone. I am so sorry that I could not be here to honor these men who my family owes every day since March 24th, 2018. However, I wanted to let them know how very thankful we are for them. It was 8:51 p.m. on March 24th. We got the call that could save Mike's life. Michael is a type 1 diabetic who has had 3 strokes and 2 heart attacks. The last stroke decimated his kidneys, and he had been on dialysis for almost 3 years. His body was giving out. It had endured enough. The doctors were hoping for a match for both the kidney and pancreas, but time was running out. Then, at 8:51 p.m. on March 24th, we got the call. It was a miracle for us that hinged on the most unthinkable tragedy for another family. That being said, we are most grateful to the donor's family that made the ultimate sacrifice and gave the gift of life to Michael. After being on and off the list for over 2 years, we were told there was a complete match, and they were very hopeful for Michael, but he had to be able to get to MGH by 2 a.m. They also told us a complete match like this is extremely rare and might not happen again, so he had to get there. This was his miracle. We just needed to get him to Boston to receive it. Not a problem unless you are 30 miles out to sea after 9 p.m. in March. We had a plan in case this happened, but like a perfect storm, the man who was set up to help us in the event of an emergency was stuck off island. So I called the emergency room and spoke to Caroline and Jessica Douglas, told them the situation. They called MedFlight and had to call me back and tell me that MedFlight would not come because of the weather. 2 storms were approaching. These amazing women then began calling everyone they knew with a plane or a way to get off island, while we scrambled and tried to wrap our heads around what was happening. I then called my brother Tate Keegan, my rock through it all, who snapped into action and immediately called his friend Jeff Turner to try and set up a charter. Jeff told Tate he could not charter the plane, but was willing to help if he could get a co-pilot. He called Doug, and without hesitation, Doug said yes. They did not want anything in return but to be kept up to date on Mike's progress and health. They returned back to Nantucket that night, and it was a very turbulent flight as the storms closed in and they encountered terrible weather. I was most grateful when I got a text from Carrie, who said that they had gotten home close to 2 a.m. and were safe and sound. We are also most grateful to their families for letting them do this, as they bravely flew into the face of the storm without a care for themselves. You may never know how your compassion and bravery has impacted others. We as a family feel we have been given the greatest gift through your brave generosity. Lastly, I wish I was there to hug these 2 men with my whole heart. They are true heroes, and I'm so thankful to everyone who was part of our miracle. Thank you to Tate for making the call, to Jessica for nominating them, and for Egan Lifesaving Museum. Well, it's Egan Maritime and the Nantucket Shipwreck Lifesaving Museum, but she doesn't work for us, and that proves it, for honoring them. These 2 men are so selfless that they did not want to be honored, as they do not feel their efforts were anything special. I should also mention this is not the first time their generous efforts have saved a life. I am so happy they are being honored as Lifesavers Savers, as what these men did is inspirational and has inspired us all to be better human beings. Thank you for your bravery and service and for being our lifesavers. Thank you for saving Michael's life and for each and every day we get because of your efforts. With much love and gratitude, Jordana Fleischert and the entire Fleischert tribe. So without further ado, I'd like to call Jeff Turner and Doug Lindley to the podium and give them their awards.
My wife and I had just walked out of the Pie Pizza, and our phones were going off from Facebook Messenger, text messages, and a number of things. The first one we noticed was a friend of ours, Jessica Douglas, from a nurse at Nantucket Cottage Hospital. She had said, I can't get into the medical details, but there's a friend that needs a flight up to Boston. It's an emergency. And he was saying there was a gentleman who needed to get up to Boston for an organ transplant. That was the most pressing thing at that moment, so I called Tate right back, and he explained to me that it was his brother-in-law who had been on dialysis for about 18 months and desperately needed to get to Boston. The call had come in about 9:25 that night. I think it was about 10 o'clock at this point. And I said, oh, all right, let me see what I can do, but we'll see you at the airport in 30 minutes.
But when Jeff calls, it's normally for a reason. And so we just threw down, took a shower, a cup of coffee, and away we went.
Jeff, do you want to say a few words?
So I have to start with Dougie. So how big's that fish we caught? Seems like it gets a little bigger every time it gets told, but no, that's the gist of it. You have a speech, right?
No, sir.
Oh, okay.
You do. The co-pilot's job is to keep his mouth shut and not touch anything.
Don't touch anything.
Well, this is for you, Doug.
Oh my God. Thank you so much.
And this is for you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Careful, it's heavy.
It's heavy, and we hope that you'll display it somewhere prominent in your home and know how much we and everybody here is grateful to both of you. But before I let you go, we have someone from Dylan Fernandez's office. Oh, sorry. We have a gentleman here from Dylan Fernandez's office, and he's going to present you with congressional citations.
Wow. Sir, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your service and your bravery. Also, gentlemen. Thank you.
I'm going to read it to you. It says, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Jeffrey Turner and Doug Lindley, they each get one, in recognition of your incredible bravery in flight and your commitment to helping those in need. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors, given this 11th day of September 2018 at the State House, Boston. So congrats.
Wow, thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask you to grab your awards and take a seat because I'm going to introduce our next pair of heroes. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
Come on, let's get back.
Good evening, friends, family, and neighbors. On behalf of Doug and myself, I'd like to thank the Nantucket Cottage Hospital, Egan Maritime Institute, and the Shipwreck Lifesaving Museum for this honor. As anyone who knows us can attest to, Doug and I feel awfully sheepish receiving accolades. We really just flew an airplane. But this past weekend at the Holidays for Heroes Gala, my friend and fellow reluctant hero, Michael Lammy, pointed out that not all heroes wear capes. This gave me some pause. You see, Lammy, who many of you here have met over the years at various Holidays for Heroes events, is a true hero in every sense of the word. When the boiler of his ship a U.S. Navy submarine tender, suffered a boiler explosion, Lammy stood fast at his station, followed his training, and quickly shut down the critical valves and opened the others to vent the rapidly expanding steam overboard, thus preventing a catastrophic explosion and saving both his ship and many of his shipmates in the process. Michael paid dearly for this devotion to duty. In the 20 or so seconds it took him to shut down the reactor, he suffered life-altering steam burns over nearly 80% of his body. Out of his 14 shipmates who were in the boiler room that day, Lammy was the most severely injured who survived the incident. His two friends were not so lucky. If you haven't supported Holidays for Heroes so far, please do. It's a very worthy cause. Since I have this opportunity, I'm going to continue for a moment to deflect attention on us to a couple other worthy groups. First, I want us all to remember our local, homegrown Nantucket first responders, our police department, our fire department, EMT, as well as the staff of Nantucket Cottage Hospital, and let's not forget our state police. We're very lucky to have this group of individuals that go out day in and day out and serve us. Thank you very much for your service to the community. I can feel next week I'm getting a ration for this one, but next I want to shed a tiny sliver of light on my brothers of Union Lodge, many of whom are here tonight. Freemasons work hard on improving themselves, their families, and their communities through a number of channels and charities. We support distressed brothers, their widows, and orphans. We operate the Children's Dyslexia Learning Centers across North America. And of course, I'm sure you're all familiar with Shriners Hospitals. Union Lodge has about 180 dues-paying brothers here today that have been active on this island since 1771. For 247 years, this group of men has been adding value to the common stock of humanity through our truth, our tolerance, our faith, our friendship, and our charity. Don't say you're a Mason, be a Mason. Lastly, I'm going to take one moment to hit on a couple of numbers. Today, there are nearly 115,000 people in the U.S. in need of life-saving organ transplants. There have been 24,000 successful organ transplants so far in 2018. Last year saw 34,770 successful transplants from 16,500 donors. That's the 5th straight year in a row of records. While the records keep being broken due to improved technology and increased awareness, there's a very long way to go to close that gap. So please, I encourage you to become an organ donor. A single donor can save as many as 8 lives. Thank you very much for this honor and appreciate your time.
Wow.
Thank you again.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Jeff. I learned a lot tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no idea. Thank you, Jeff. 4 months to the day after Jeff and Doug flew to Boston during that nor'easter, Connor Ventling and Andrew Trott Killowa were wrapping up a day with Strong Wings campers at Russell's Way Beach in Matacasham. The 2 counselors and their young charges were in the parking lot getting ready to bike back to camp when they heard cries for help coming from the beach. Strong Wings Aquatics Director Andrew Trott Killowa immediately grabbed 2 rescue tubes from the back of his car. Connor Ventling was fully dressed to bike back, but when Andrew said, "Connor, it looks like we're going to have to go in," Connor immediately dropped everything, assigned a trusty counselor in training to watch over the assembled campers, and joined Andrew in running back down to the beach. Both young men are strong swimmers. Andrew was on the swim team at Nantucket High School, and they immediately strapped on their rescue tubes and dove into the roiling surf. 2 young women were out beyond the surf line, in obvious distress and unable to make their way back to shore. One of the girls, a 19-year-old college student from Chatham, New Jersey, was being aided by her father, who made his way back to the beach on his own once he realized that Andrew and Connor had matters in hand. Both girls were able to grab the rescue tubes, and there was this instant look of relief in their eyes, Andrew told me. Connor added, they were close to drowning, not in the best shape. It was tricky getting them back in because of the heavy surf. The two Strong Wings veterans got the girls safely to shore and were met by applause from onlookers on the beach, as well as their campers in the parking lot. They immediately got back into their jobs, as Andrew put it, and returned their campers back to Strong Wings. Camp Director Chris Couture is with us this evening to honor his heroic employees who went above and beyond to help their fellow men. Congratulations to all of our amazing honorees, and thank you for reaffirming my faith in the innate goodness of humanity. And we have a motto that Maurice taught me, and Dick Mack, who's here tonight too, is fond of telling visitors to the museum. You have to go out, but you don't have to come back. Thank you for going out there. And Andrew and Connor, now that I've gotten my self-control back, please join me at the podium so I can give you your awards.
So we had a few different age groups at Russell's Way, from me with the extremes to even some warriors too. We were kind of the last to leave the beach that day. I was getting my students and campers kind of ready to go on their bikes, and really we're about to leave the parking lot with you kind of close behind from there.
I was in the parking lot. I was actually about to drive away, and Michelle Grodsky, actually parent of 3 campers that are in our program, started running up to the parking lot. I just saw like some distress, and then I looked over the dune into the water, and I could see that there were 2 girls that needed to be helped. So Connor and I sprung into action. I had rescue tubes in the back of my car. We just strapped on a rescue tube. Con didn't even take his shirt off. He just went right for it. And it was straightforward from there. We swam out, pulled them back.
I was just keeping an eye, kind of direct line of sight on where they were, so we could kind of start tracking towards them. I noticed that they'd kind of gotten pulled out past where the waves were breaking, so we had to kind of fight our way through that and make it out to them.
Once I think we got to the girls and they were able to hold on to something, there was like a complete change in their demeanor. When we brought the girls back to the beach, I remember like everyone on the beach was standing up at the edge of the water. There was like a round of applause. We really quickly just like hugged the girls, like said goodbye, and then got right back to our job because we had a bunch of kids to take care of.
Connor, Andrew, and Lisa. Andrew, I'd like to give you your award.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do you want to say anything? No. Okay. A little shy.
I don't have a speech prepared. I'm happy that Connor and I were in the right place at the right time, and we had with the right set of skills. That's all.
Thanks. And please, Connor, say a few words. You didn't have to do what you did.
Well, Andrew did. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming here, remembering what makes this country great. Sorry, I gotta lean in a little bit more.
Can't hear you in the back.
Oh, here. Okay.
So as much as this day is a time to remember those that we lost, how about this? There we go. Now we're cooking. As much as this day is a day to remember those that we've lost, whether on September 11th or those serving their countries, after that, it's, to me, as much about kind of looking at what makes this country great, about everyday people helping out. We really don't think we did anything special. We're just lifeguards. We're just camp counselors, kind of the grungy, crusty guys you see riding around on bikes each day. It is a real honor to be a lifeguard, though, but I think it's an even bigger honor to work with our youth today. I think if we keep coming back any longer, Chris is going to have to start paying us dental. We do it because it's really what we enjoy doing. It's really what kind of makes us come home at the end of the day feeling accomplished. So thank you all to everyone. We were happy to be there that day, but just doing our job. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Stay here because Tom Dixon is going to present you with the Congressional Recognition, which you so deserve, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service to our community. Connor.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Thank you, Tom. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and I hope that you'll join us again next year. But in the meantime, we have such wonderful exhibits here, thanks to our Lisa Lazarus, who's our director of the museum, and it's our 50th year. And we're very proud of our little museum, which is geographically challenged. We're not right at the end of Steamboat Wharf, so make your way out here, take the NERTA, or whatever they call it now, the Wave, ride your bike, drive your car. We actually have parking. And it's a great place to grab a sandwich from home and come have a picnic lunch and learn a little something about Nantucket's history and the great lifesavers that we still keep producing. Thank you.